At this point, we have one class, and we are going to be adding a second class and then relating our tables to each other. The second class that you're going to add is called genre. So you're just going to right click on models, go to add, and choose class. And then you're going to call it genre.cs. It's a pretty small class. There's just two properties, and you'll be initializing them to empty strings. They are both strings. Okay, there's genre ID and name. And once you get done with that, you are going to then relate genre and movie. So one genre, like comedy or drama or horror, can actually be in more than one movie. So it's a one-to-many. And so what you have to do at the bottom here is you have to pull in genre as a data type, and then we're also using it as the property name. And we're setting it equal to null asterisk. Now, for the first one here, we don't want them to validate this because we're just putting it in here because we're creating a foreign key. So the next one is what actually connects the data, and it is genre ID. So this does have to match what you have added to your genre class, where that is. Okay, so data types should be the same. And we're going to use the exact same property name here as well. And so then we are setting that to string.empty. Okay, and this is required, so we have a little message associated with that. Okay, and both of these little pieces are necessary for creating the foreign key. Now, once we've got the genre table and we've got the foreign key added to movies, our next step is to go into the movie context and do the DB set for genre. And remember, this will create the actual table. And I think before I forgot to put the asterisk in here after null. So make sure you have that in there for both. And it just means they're nullable. And so here the class is genre, but the table name is going to be genres. Okay. And so once we do migrations, that table will get created. Now, because there is a one-to-many relationship between genres and movies, and genre is the one table, it is the primary table, the data for genre has to be added first. And so I've added some model builder code here. It's basically the same code that I used for movie. It's just that I changed the class to genre. Okay, and then I filled in the properties for genre. Okay, and once you do that, then you can come down here and add a genre ID for each of the movies. And at this point, you'd want to save everything and run a build. Now, what can go wrong at this point is a variety of things. If you forget these little exclamations, you might get an error. If you have any typos at all, you will get errors. And then you would want to try to match the upper and lower case of how you defined genre ID and name in here. Okay, so anything that is miskeyed is going to basically create an error. So that's something that we kind of want to avoid. Our next step in this process will be adding migration for genre. So anytime you make any change to the structure of a table, meaning in your classes, we change the columns. We add columns, we remove columns, we add a foreign key, anything like that, we do have to do migration. If you are just messing around with data annotations, you do not need to do a migration because the data annotations aren't really going to affect your tables. They're going to affect how things are displayed in the views. Okay. There are some data annotations, I will take that back, that do affect tables, but you haven't learned how to do those yet. So at this point, the ones that you guys are using are not going to affect your tables. So what we're going to do is do an add migration, and then we are going to do an update database. So we're going to go into the package manager console, and we're going to say add dash migration, and we'll give it a name of genre. All right. And then we're going to do the update database. Now, sometimes when you add tables and you add foreign keys, the update database doesn't work. Okay, it doesn't mean you did anything wrong. I'm going to go ahead and key it in. And it looks like mine is going to work. However, if yours does not work, and I have seen this in the past, this was a huge issue. If it does not work, you can simply delete the migrations. Okay, just delete the folder. Then you can do an add migration initial. And you're going to create a new database. Now, the problem is the database already exists, right? So you have to kind of change this name to make it unique. I think yours is called movies. So you could just put V1 on the end or V2 for version 2. Okay. But if you end up having to delete your migrations and then you do, an add migration, initial, create, okay, and then you do an update database, it's going to create a new database. So you have to make sure the name is different than the one that you currently have, and then it should work. Okay, for everybody who's run into problems with this, deleting migrations and doing the add migration and update database worked to resolve their problem. Now, to make sure this works, I am going to go into the SQL Server Object Explorer. And I'm going to look for my movies database. There it is. So now I should see 2 tables, and I do. And if I right click on genre, view data, I can see that that's populated, and I can do the same thing with movies, and I can see that I now have a genre ID. So at this point, everything looks good. So I'm going to go back over to the Solution Explorer, close out some of these open tabs, and we are going to basically do some scaffolding next. This is the quick, easy way of creating controllers and views.